Take a look at this pattern. It's 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Notice that 5 is an addend 4 times. And we can say then that this is actually 4 times 5. You see, 4 times 5 as a multiplication problem, but we can relate it back to an addition problem. In other words, every multiplication problem can be thought of as one in which we have repeated addition. If we have 28 times 7, for example, it's 28 and 28 and 28 and 27 of them, you see. So that's the idea, and it could be, the calculation could be performed in that way, but the fast way is to use multiplication. Okay, so we have 4 times 5 related to an addition idea. The multiplication can be indicated in a number of ways. We can use a little x here for multiplication. But we're going to move away from that as we move closer and closer to algebra and use notations like this. 4 times 5 using a little dot, or parenthesis can be used to indicate multiplication. Now when 4 and 5 are multiplied, the 4 and the 5 are called factors, and the factors are multiplied to get a result called the product. So 20 is the product of 4 and 5. Here are some properties related to multiplication. When we multiply 5 times 0, or 0 times 5, 0 times any other whole number is going to be 0. And that's the multiplication property of 0. We also have a multiplication property of 1. 7 times 1 would be 7. Of course, 1 times 7, switch it around, 1 times 7 would be 7 as well. We can verify that again, thinking of it as repeated additions. You see, we have 7 times 1, and gee, 1 is an addend 7 times. So 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. You see, it's 7. At any rate, the multiplication property of 1. This also could be called the identity element of multiplication, couldn't it? Because after all, we're using 1 as a factor with another real number, another whole number, and in this process, when we find the product turns out to have the same identity as that other factor. So 1, then the identity element in multiplication. But this is called the multiplication property of 1, involving that identity element. All right, we have commutative and associative properties for multiplication, and they're used in much the same way as they were with addition. That is, the commutative property refers to an order relationship, and associative property refers to grouping. For the commutative property, 4 times 2 has the same value as 2 times 4. So we can change the order of items being multiplied by this commutative property. Notice the operative word here, the key word in commutative is order. And let's see, we have 3 numbers to be multiplied here, and we can multiply actually any 2 of them first. Notice the order is not changed from this side of the equal sign to this side of the equal sign. We're just regrouping them. We're grouping them differently on either side. 2 times 3 times 4 can be accomplished by multiplying the first 2 factors first, or the last 2 factors first. And if we multiply 2 times 3, we'd get 6 here. 6 times 4 would be 24 on the left side. On the right side, we have 2 times. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 12, also 24. So the associative property for multiplication, and it's just the idea of grouping. Multiplication is indicated using a couple of words and phrases. 5 times 3 means multiply 5 and 3 as factors, you see. The product of a couple of numbers means to multiply those numbers. So multiplication is indicated in a rather obvious way here. Let's go through the process. 24 times 3 would be accomplished this way. Notice the alignment of the digits as we have seen in addition and subtraction. So we aligned the 1, the only digit here for 3, with the 1's digit in 24. And then 3 times 4 would be 12. We write the 2 in 12 here, and we carry the 1. Now, in carrying that 1, we're going to add 1 to the product of the 3 and the 2. So we have 3 times 2 is 6 and 1. You see, this is an add-on item. It's not added to the 2 before the multiplication. That's kind of an important idea. So it's added on after the multiplication is taking place. So we have 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 gives 7. So 72 for the result. This next one involves some zeros. We have 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 7 is 28. We would just simply write the 28. Now, you could go to all the trouble of saying, well, gee, we have 4 times 7 is 28. I think I'll write the 8 and carry the 2. Well, we could do that. I'll put a 0 here as a placeholder, carry the 2. Then 4 times 0 is 0 plus 2. 0 plus 2, you see, is 2. So we'd have 28 in either event. Usually we don't write that other 0, but we certainly could if we're trying to follow a certain pattern. Now, this notion of having zeros occur, notice that the important digits down here in describing the number 2,800 or 2,800, the important digits are the 2 and the 8. And the 2 and the 8 come from multiplying 4 times 7. 4 times 7 gives us 28. And these two zeros are just kind of tacked on to the 28. So a kind of shortcut in dealing with numbers that have a number of zeros within them, particularly if those zeros are at the rightmost digits in the number, is to just multiply these as significant digits, 4 times 7, 28, and tack on those two zeros. You see, and just realize what we're doing here. We have 4 times 700. You see, so we have 4 times 700 is 2,800. And no wonder we just tack on those two zeros for 2,800. Here's one, 8,000 times 5. Well, again, we could use this shortcut and just say, well, the digits that make a lot of sense to us here are the 5 and the 8. 5 times 8 is 40. And I'll just tack on these 3 zeros to get 40,000. Here we have 9,577 times 35. Now, we have a lot of this carrying business going on here, and we just begin with the 5 digit, and we multiply right to left up above. We have 5 times 7, 35. In that 35, I'll write the 5 and carry the 3. I put the 3 above this digit. And I'm going to add it on after I multiply those two. So I have 5 times 7 is 35, and 3 is 38. I'll put the 8 in 38 right here and carry the 3. 5 times 5 is 25, and 3 is 28. I'll put the 8 in 28 right here and carry the 2. 5 times 9 is 45, and 2 is 47. Now, this number is really telling us the number of ones that we have involved. It was 5 ones times all of this. So this is the product of 5 times this. This is the number of ones that we have. Now we have to take this tens digit and find out how many tens we have. So we're multiplying 3 tens times all of this business. Now, before I start the process, though, I want to clear out these numbers up above because I don't want to use those same numbers. I'm going to have new ones in those positions when I multiply by 3. All right, here we go. 3 times 7 is 21. Now, notice this is in the tens position here. And so I'm multiplying 3 tens times 7 ones. And I'm going to get a result of 21 tens. 21 tens. So that 21 needs to go in the tens place. And that's why I put the 1 in 21 in the tens place. And the 2 for the 21 tens, you see, goes into the next position, or it's carried over to the next position. And to do that, we do this. Now, I'm going to go through it fast here because it's almost easier to do it fast. 3 times 7 is 21. Put down the 1, carry the 2. Then 3 times this 7 is 21, and 2 is 23. Take the 3 in 23 and put it here and carry the 2. 3 times 5, 15, and 2, 17. Write the 7 in 17 here and carry the 1 in 17 up to the next digit. 3 times 9, 27, and 1, 28. And now I'm adding. Let's see, we have 5 and vacancy is 5. 8 and 1, 9. 8 and 3, 11. I'll put the 1 for the ones digit in 11, and I'll carry a 1. 1 and 7, 8 and 7, 15. 15. I'll put the 5 in 15 here and carry the 1. 1 and 4, 5 and 8, 13. The 3 and 13 goes here. The 1 is carried. 1 and 2, 3. So 335,195 is the product of those two numbers. Here's one involving a 0, and this 0 offers us a little opportunity to save a little time. Here's how it goes. We start with the 8 as we normally would. 8 times 5 is 40. Write the 0 in 40 here, and the 4 I'll carry to the next column. 8 times 8 is 64, and 4 is 68. Write the 8 in 68 here, and the 6 I'll carry to the next column. 8 times 9 is 72. 72 and 6 is 78. 78. Now, 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 8 is 0. 0 times 9 is 0. You see, we just have a row of zeros. I should be erasing these rascals before I go on, but we have a row of zeros here, and actually we don't have to write the row of zeros. The safest thing, though, to do is to write that row of zeros. Then we go with our next digit. We have 4 times 5, 20. I am putting the 0 in 20 here and carrying a 2. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 and 2 is 34. Put the 4 in 34 here, and put the 3, carry the 3 to the next column. 4 times 9 is 36, and 3 is 39, and away I go. And now I'm adding. Notice how the digits line up here. Now be very careful about that. If you're messy with this and things don't line up properly, what happens, a couple of things happens. One, you make mistakes generally when you do that. But it's exhausting. It takes a lot of mental energy when things aren't written neatly and so forth. You'll find yourself really exhausted after having a little session of math homework if you're not fairly tidy with writing the digits and so forth. Anyway, notice that the alignment here all the way down the problem. You see, and this is what ought to appear on your paper as well. Okay, at any rate, we're collecting these digits vertically. We have a 0 here. 8 with 0 is 8. 8, 0, 0, oh, that's 8. 7, 0, 4. 7 and 4, 11. Write the 1, carry a 1. 1 and 9, 10. Write the 0, carry the 1. 1 and 3, 4. 401,880 for this product. Here's a word problem which is solved by multiplying whole numbers. It says, an auto mechanic receives a salary of $1,050 each week. How much does the mechanic earn in 4 weeks? Well, multiplication is a short way to work the problem, but we could simply add 1,050 4 times. That is 1,050 and 1,050 and 1,050 and 1,050, one each for the 4 weeks, you see. But because 1,050 is used as an add-in 4 times, the shortcut is 4 times 1,050. So we could use multiplication. Let's go through the process. 4 times 0 is 0. Then 4 times 5 is 20. I'll put down the 0 in 20 and carry the 2. 4 times 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. Now this is a tricky little situation when you first bump into it a few times, so be careful with it. It was 4 times 5 is 20. Put down the 0 in the 20 here, and then carry the 2 to the next column. And then 4 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2, you see, for the digit that goes here. And then now we're carrying nothing, but 4 times 1 is 4. So 4,200. And it's $4,200, so the auto mechanic is earning $4,200 in 4 weeks.